Nurse Chapel had a Malamute named Milo. Ensigns Zier and Christina were trying to sign the Scorch. And Transporter Chief Kyle is so mean, apparently. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the 7th Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we are doing a review of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 1, Episode 5, Spock Amok, or Amok. It was probably Amok. Written by Henry Alonzo Myers and Robin Wasserman, possibly Wasserman if they pronounce it the German way, and directed by Rachel Lederman, also a German-sounding name. Today's episode, everybody, is brought to you by Barry Sue. Thank you very much. Special thanks to Barry Sue. How are you today, Cirroc?
Doing very well.
Mm-hmm. Boy, oh boy. This is...
Didn't we see another episode with the Amok as the title? I thought it was a Lower Decks or something.
Yeah, no, it was Prodigy, and it was...
Time Amok.
Time Amok, exactly. Yeah, because there's an original series episode that's called Amok Time. And so Prodigy very intelligently and cleverly gave it Time Amok instead of Amok Time, and this is Spock Amok.
Wasn't that Aaron Walke's episode? Or no, that wasn't the episode he
No,
did.
his was Kobayashi Maru. I think Time Amok might have been episode 4 or 5, like right before it, like right in that same time, but before it. Possibly.
Yeah, right around there.
And what's interesting is, if I remember correctly, and I haven't seen my original series stuff in quite some time, so we'll definitely have to turn to Don Crandall for some information, because I'm sure he's got our back with this. But they actually referenced Amok Time in this episode. Actually, the scene behind me, when it was showing, that opening sequence where Spock is dreaming, and they had the lady shaking the bells thing, the little jingle jangle thing. And what they did that was so cool, and actually TJ was talking about this earlier, is they sampled the exact iconic music from that episode. Obviously, they redid it, but it wasn't for the whole thing, but there was some really cool, composition. And then all of a sudden they go right into this very iconic and well-known, music score. And that's what original series did so well, is characters had like a theme, or a scene had a theme with these very memorable musical scores, where you hear that little 2 or 3 or 10 notes, and immediately, oh, that's Harry Mudd, that's Amok Time, that's the battle between Kirk and Spock. That like, it's really cool, and so it was great that they referenced that.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on it. I did pick up on the Spock Amok, and that they were using the kind of Time Amok, that same reference to the original series Amok Time episode. But yeah, so I mean, it opened with Spock versus Spock. That's how I wrote. I was like, Spock versus Spock, and I felt like that was something that we may have seen in the past before. Had there ever been 2 Spocks?
That I don't recall. Right now, all the better sci-fi fans than I are screaming at the screen, saying, yes, obviously it's this, or they're saying, no, it's never happened, duh. But I can't think of one. I know that in this thing before, the guy that he was supposedly fighting to bring for was a guy named Stone, which I always thought was a funny name. Stone. That was a Vulcan named Stone. That sounds like a country song.
Well, his last name is Cold Steve Austin.
There it is. Or it's Cold Stone, the ice cream shop, right? Which is a little less cool. So this was, to me, this was a very fun. This was their first comedy, basically, is what we got out of this, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And they really did they do so well what I love, which is they're splitting people off into A story, B story, C story. And I like that they keep changing it up. Like who's with whom, because there's going to be only so many times that Number One and Pike can be together. There's only going to be so many times that Nurse Chapel and Dr. Mbenga to be together. Switch it up a bit. Give us some new combinations, and they're doing that. And I love this episode so much because we got to see the characters. It felt very Next Generation to me in the humor, in like the kind of the cute humor, where you're like, oh, they're just being buddies. Like the hijinks that the two ladies had, La'an and Una, and the fact that T'Pring hates hijinks. Oh my God, that was freaking hilarious. When I think Spock says, this is getting dangerously close to hijinks. Ugh.
Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of have a little different take on it. I feel like, number one, I have to feel you said earlier in the review of this that you had enough of Spock, that you felt like, yeah, there's enough. I've seen enough of the Spock storyline. I kind of want to see these other characters get developed.
Yeah, and when I want to know more about the characters that are new, or the ones that we only saw in a couple episodes in the past, and we want to explore them more. And to me, that's a priority, is learning about these new characters, or the characters we don't know much about.
Yeah, and so that's why it was a little bit too much for me for the Spock storyline. I felt like, okay, enough of the Spock stuff. Like, let me get more of the other characters. I want to.
Oh, you are going to the school of Ryan now.
Yeah,
you've only had 5 episodes of Spock, and you're already like, give me more La'an, give me more Mbenga.
Yeah, basically, because I want to know more. Like, for me, it's a little bit. When is Ortega's going to get some like backstory?
She's gotten the least, I think. Yeah,
she's gotten the least, but yet they kind of make her the sidekick of different situations where she's relevant. She's in there. She gets lines. She's present, but we don't really know much about her, and she's not getting enough backstory and character development early on for me to even care about her enough to know, whether she, I don't know enough about her to care. Mm-hmm. And I want to know about her because she seems really cool. She's got that cool haircut. She's like stylish. She's like the hip hop, she looks like the hip hop person on
with
Star
her
Trek,
hammer pants,
like, with her hammer pants and her cool shoes and stuff. She's wearing tennis shoes, which you barely see anybody wearing tennis shoes.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, this is a cool little hip hop chick. She has her own flair. She's got her own style, and maybe she's got some backstory that's really interesting and unique, which is why she has her own kind of style and vibe to her. And I'd like to know what that is and how she came to, find herself presented in such a way with a cool haircut and her own fashionable style. So I think that I want to know more about who Ortega is.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw the Spock stuff, it's like, yeah. But
what's cool about that is you're saying this, and all I'm thinking is that you guys Cirroc is totally one of us now. Like, we catch ourselves, and sometimes people don't catch themselves, but we're like, we've only watched 5 episodes so far of a Star Trek series, and we're already like, I want more of this character, and I want more of this, and what about this person? What? And it's so true though. Like, we forget this is only the 5th episode. I'm sure, I'm feeling pretty confident that we're going to get an Ortega's episode this season. If not, then in the next season, because so far everybody's kind of been highlighted a bit. Discovery, for example, I would not be as confident, because we've seen 4 seasons where, for example, Bryce has not got an episode. It's just a different formula, right? Same thing with Lower Decks. We know the 4 that will get the main burn, and then the next 4 or 5 or 6 are going to be secondary characters. But this one, by episode 1, in episode 2, we already knew what the formula is, which is everybody gets an episode, everybody's involved in every episode, right? I don't think there was an episode where not all of the 8 or 9 people. Well, actually, maybe we didn't see much Hemmer actually in this one.
Well, yeah, we didn't see Hemmer in this
one.
Okay,
so maybe that's one. So, but that's very rare. And I feel like Hemmer and Ortegas are probably like 8 and 9, on the call sheet or on the plot sheet. You know what I mean? Like they're just going to be covered a little bit less. But that's when they know that they've created something really good, is when I feel the same way. I'm like, when am I going to get an Ortegas episode? Like it's 5 episodes in and I'm already like, come on, we demand an Ortegas episode and then a Hemmer episode.
Yeah, I feel that way. And then, it's because I'm interested in getting to know these characters. And
totally.
Like with the case of Spock, it's like, I feel like I know enough about Spock. I don't want to hear him gripe and pine on about being a half human and half Vulcan. It's like, how big of a deal is that in 500 years from now that you're a multiracial person? Like that's true. We have multiracial people right now. So I would hope that 400 years from now, it's not an issue.
We go backwards, which I guess is possible. But
it's a little bit like, come on, let's get over that. That can't be enough to have you pining over your childhood because you got treated a certain type of way. I don't see that as that major of an issue for you. Not to mention, we've kind of went over it with the Discovery and Burnham storyline and their parents and all of that stuff. So I feel like we've gotten enough of that. And my criticism of this episode is more rooted in the A storyline of Spock's switching bodies or whatever with T'Pring.
Okay, I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this, because I know I know that you and I probably have different takes on this, but I want to hear what yours is.
Yeah, well, first of all, that they stole, this is like one of those old school 80s, early 90s movies of, switching bodies, right? It's like in that Honey, I Shrunk the Kids generation of movies that came out, like Big with Tom Hanks, those kinds of movies, right? So that story has been done before, and I don't mind that they do that. The problem that I had with them doing it in this particular instance was you're switching to people that are very similar already. So there's not much difference in personality for me to gauge a true difference, right? T'Pring and Spock speak the same way. They have the same inflections in the same places. They use the same logic and reason. There's no real difference between the two of them. So them switching it's not like they'd be completely in left field, like an adult in a kid's body and a kid in an adult body, where it's like, hey, I don't know what to do. You want me to drive a car? I'm a kid. But in this case, it's like you guys are 2 Vulcan adults that are the same age, that are already very intimate with each other, that know each other very well, who act similarly. So,
Cirroc, are you saying all Vulcans act the same right now? Is that what I'm very disappointed to hear you say that. Maybe we won't get far 500 years from now. No, but this is why we have such a different take on this, because for me, now, obviously I've seen a ton of Star Trek, and there was this was reminiscent to me. There was an episode of Voyager in which Jeri Ryan finally gets to show off her incredible acting skills, because her body was inhabited by the Doctor, Robert Picardo's character. So, Cirroc, if you can imagine Jeri Ryan acting like Robert Picardo, and this goes to your point, which is 2 completely different personalities, but she killed it. She destroyed it, and it was unbelievably good. I was very impressed. So it's always great when an actor can show off their skills and raise your eyebrows and say, wow, I had no idea they could do that. But in this case, now I looked for it. So if I wasn't looking for it, I may not notice it because it's very subtle. But everything about Vulcans is very subtle. Two things. Number one is I thought that there was a difference. Now, again, I was looking for it, so maybe I was convincing myself that I saw it.
Okay.
But they are slightly different characters because Spock is half human, so he's going to be a little bit more emotional. He makes jokes, like we saw that he said something like, humans are almost as much.
He said, "What are friends for?" He said, "What are friends for?"
Or he says humans are almost as fun to make fun of as Vulcans, or something like that. So he's a little bit more emotional, a little bit, more wiggle room there. And T'Pring is very hard-nosed and very serious and very subtle in her deliveries. So I watched how they played each other, and I thought that they nailed it. But again, very subtle, and I was looking for it. And the other thing I want to point out, and this was not something I noticed in the first episode, but the lady that plays T'Pring is a unbelievable actor. I did not, forgive me, I didn't notice it the first time, but this time I was like, she is insanely good. It is hard to be very funny when you have to play a character with no major inflection and no major emotion, and I think that she's an unbelievable actor, and I didn't notice it in the first episode, but I was very aware of it in this one. So that was just the other point I wanted to make about that. I was above everything very impressed by her.
Yeah, I do think she's a wonderful actor, but not because I thought she was funny. I think because she's able to pull off a convincing Vulcan to me. And when she goes heads up with Ethan, she holds her own as a Vulcan, and I believe it. And she's just as much Vulcan or more so than he is.
More so, it seems like, right? If she feels more Vulcan than him, which I think is the point, maybe.
Right. So in that regards, I think she's nailing it as far as convincing me that she's Vulcan. And that takes a certain amount of ability to be able to deliver lines in a certain way, like you were describing. Certain level of monotone, a certain level of that you have to place emphasis in very specific, subtle ways in order to get the points across of sarcasm and whatnot that Vulcans are very good at.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do think she's great. For me, the biggest thing is, you were looking for the subtle performance differences of the half human, half Vulcan delivery versus an all Vulcan delivery. And for me, those differences are so subtle.
They're too subtle. Yeah. They're microscopic.
Yeah, they're microscopic. And I'm like, dude, I can't figure this out. Now, like I said, if it was Hammer and Spock, then it would be comical for me, because I would say, oh, here's Hammer being a Vulcan and doing all the logical stuff, and then here's Spock playing this crazy guy who's liable to do anything, and that would be farther out of character. That would be enough out of character for each of them for me to buy along and be more engaged in the story. The subtle difference is like, oh God, I can't figure this out. It's like it was like trying to do hard math, trying to figure out the difference between Spock and they didn't even use different voices, right? Like a voiceover of her voice in his body or something. That may have sold me better or something. I don't know.
It was a very difficult thing to convey and to pick up. And another thing that was very well written and very well delivered by this actress, I'm going to have to look her up so that she can get the shout out that she deserves. But it was the line when somebody calls for T'Pring, and she says, T'Pring is not, I am not, wait, here I am. It's like, she's thinking like, T'Pring isn't here right now. And then it's like, oh, wait, no, wait, I am here. Wait, I am not here. And then anyway, it was very interesting how we can watch her train of thought go. And that's not an easy line or group of lines to deliver, because she needs to deliver it in a way that we are following her thought process along. That was also very good. I mean, supposedly that's Spock, but in my notes, I just called the person who they are. It's T'Pring being inhabited by Spock, because otherwise it's going to get way too confusing. But at that point, I guess it was technically Spock in T'Pring's body.
Yeah.
We also got
difficult for me to follow.
We also got a Bolian too, by the way. The blue alien, Ensign Zir, I believe her name was. So I was very excited about that. You know that Bolians are maybe one of my 3 favorite aliens and very underused. So I was very happy to see a Bolian. Shout out to Ensign Zir. You can be my second favorite character behind Lieutenant Kyle, who's super mean, apparently. Her first name was Bra, by the way. B-R-A.
Yeah. You said Ensign Sear?
Zir. Ensign, yeah. Ensign.
That's funny. Ensign Sear.
Zir.
You're being very insincere right now.
Oh, okay. That's better. I like that. That's very good. Better than my Brazier joke that nobody liked.
Yeah, nobody liked
Insincere. That's very good. Wow.
I actually have to write that one down. I might have to use that again.
The other one I was thinking of was Una's last name. I know they gave her a last name, but initially her last name was going to be Gata Davida. Long pause, man.
Where's Aaron? We gotta have an Aron Eisenberg button.
The wow button, the Aron Eisenberg wow button.
The wow.
In the Gata Davida, baby. I tested that one out last night. It was, let's just say, mixed results. Rico definitely did not get it.
He did not get it, and he wasn't. And good for him.
Yeah. Anyway,
we talked about the glasses that we used on DS9 one time, and I think Eve England said she had some of the glasses. They were these certain kind of glasses, right?
Yeah.
Which glasses were those? Those were like the Sisko drinking glasses, I think it was.
Yeah.
But the reason I bring that up is because in this episode, Spock is holding those crystal glasses that are like, weirdly
How do you
shaped.
drink out of that thing?
How do you drink out of that thing?
With a straw or nothing? With a straw or a bib?
That's because you're literally going to cut your mouth if you try to drink out of that thing. Yeah. But it did look cool, and I took notice of it. I was like, well, I've never seen a shot glass or a drinking glass that didn't have an even ledge or rim around the ledge, right? And it was kind of jagged and different shapes. Right. So I thought that was crazy looking glass, and I wondered where they found it. Did they make it? And I was really curious about those glasses.
Me too. I was like, that would make a better candle holder. And even that I'm not sure of. But yeah, how do you drink out of that? I mean, either again with a straw, or are you going to make a mess?
Exactly, or a bib. It's not going to come all out at the same place.
No, it's going to go everywhere. It's a mess.
Yeah.
I love the Rongovians. I thought that was really clever and interesting that they seemed to initially mimic, like they tried to out-argue Tellarites. Tellarites, Cirroc, are known for being very argumentative. They're also one of the founding members of the Federation, along with the Andorians, the humans, and the Vulcans. So they're one of the first 4 members of the Federation. And then, of course, they were nice and jovial and pleasant with Pike. And they were super logical with the Vulcans. I thought the 2 actors that played the Rongovians were awesome. Captain Vaso and First Officer Brax. Really cool, really interesting. I love it when that also is very Next Generation, which is, and original series, which is introducing a new race and a new problem or puzzle that they create, because you're trying to figure out how their culture works, or how they differ from us, I should say.
Yeah, and I thought it was cool that they that they said that their ship doesn't it only goes left, it only turns left. I thought that was pretty cool.
I missed that line.
Their ship only turns left because two Rongovians don't make a
There
right.
we go. There it is. Wow, he's on fire tonight, everybody. He is on fire. God, this guy can't go Rongovian.
Yeah, so no, they had a cool ship, and I thought it was a throwback, like kind of shout out to DS9 with the solar sails.
Yeah,
the solar sails. It looked like
reminded
they were
me of
giving
Explorers.
Space Nine, right? A slight little covert, shout out to DS9's Explorers episode where we build that Bajoran solar sail ship, and it kind of almost had the same graphic effects with the golden solar
Color,
sails coming out. Yeah, color wise.
Very much so.
Yeah.
I thought, oh my God, Dr. Mbenga is already the cutest freaking guy I've ever seen. Like the way he's just so pleasant and sweet. And all it gave him was one little 2-second shot fishing with his hat and with his little gear. And I was just like, I was like, oh my God, I love this guy. Yeah. And I'm sure everybody reacted. That's all we needed to know. Like that was his storyline. His storyline was, cool. Doc's happy. He's sitting on the dock of the bay fishing right now. He's happy. That's all I need to know. That's his storyline. He's doing good.
Yeah, with his ugly fly fishing hat, and I thought that was a cool little moment there with him in the hat. Yeah, and it was a special thing. I mean, he's such a sweet, kind of gentle, good-hearted person, and that comes across the screen so well. So he must be that in real life. I can't see him being an asshole or a jerk because he looks like just the sweetest guy, and so soft spoken and he has this ability to really show compassion. I feel like he cares and he has this compassionate heart. So I do love his character, and I love the way he gets excited about his medical stuff, right? Because he was like, oh man, yeah, I got this little special thing. It's going to be Starfleet's going to be using this one of these days. And
it'll be Starfleet standard someday. Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought that was a cool moment there with him being excited about his work,
Yeah. He definitely has that warmth and charm to him. But that was a little reminiscent. His excitement of trying out something new, the ground up, whatever the heck it was. Actually, what was it exactly? It was ground Nivalian sea urchin. Yeah. So he was reminiscent a bit of Dr. Phlox of Enterprise, because Dr. Phlox of Enterprise was always using like live beetles or aliens or animals or leeches or something like that, and so that was cool. I hope to hear Dr. Mbenga mention Phlox, like say, oh, this is the Phlox method of blah blah blah. That would just that would be beautiful.
That'd be great.
Yeah. And
there was another call to me for DS9, and that was that 4D chessboard that we saw in the park scene with Spock. And it's like, I don't remember seeing it again after Deep Space Nine. I don't know if it was in Voyager and Enterprise or whatnot, but that 4D chessboard, we had it all the time on DS9. It was in Sisko's quarters for the most part.
4D chess, but that's the better 4D was a King Cobra. It's my favorite 4D. Anyway, moving on. Some of you guys know what I'm talking. Seconded by some oldie. Old. I guess I shouldn't have said oldie or old English. That would have hit the point home a little better. The 40.
Oh, man.
Right now, people that are watching right now are like, did Ryan and Cirroc just grow age 30 years overnight? Because
are they talking about 40 ounces?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, we are not. The zebra makeup, is that the first time we had seen these aliens in this zebra makeup?
I think so. They looked a little bit like what are those guys called? Another one of my favorite aliens. I'll remember in a second. They look like prune. They're like prune faces, and they're information smugglers. They looked a little bit like that, but I don't think we've seen this alien before. At least I've never seen it. They may have mentioned Rongovians before. It seems like it might be familiar, but I don't think so. But to my knowledge, that's the first time we've seen that alien. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought the makeup
Uridian. Sorry, Uridian. That's the alien I was thinking of. Uridians. Love those guys.
Yeah, no, I thought the makeup was great in this episode, especially with those two aliens. I thought they looked amazing. I was really paying attention and looking at the detail on the foreheads and stuff, and it was very intricate, and you couldn't almost tell that it wasn't their actual skin. It was pretty amazing.
Okay. I'm looking up real quick to see if Rongovian has been used before. It seems like there's something being mentioned here, but I think it's real world, not Star Trek. Something about J.G. Hertzler visiting some Rongovian embassy, but it seems like it's a real life thing, not an in-universe thing. I think that's the first time. Yeah. So I'll tell you what else I liked about this episode. The comedy was great. I thought the acting was phenomenal. I didn't mind the old switcheroo, which I thought I would. I thought I'd be like, oh boy, this storyline again, that we've seen in every 80s sitcom and, sci-fi show and all that. But it didn't bother me because it was only part of it. And because it did lend itself to an extremely subtle form of humor. It wasn't like, it wasn't slapstick, and it certainly wasn't obvious. And it was very, very subtle. But everything else was also great. Like the comedy between the two ladies, Laan and Una, where they start having their own little hijinks. I thought that was really cute to let them, let their hair down. And they're both hard asses. In fact, what's her name's nickname is now Where Fun Goes to Die or something like that. So I thought it was really cool for them to both have secret fun, not in front of the other officers, because they don't want to let anybody in on their little secret. But the truth is, they're like, well, we can have fun just between us. You know what I mean? Like, and their fun was so nerdy. Like, who gets to be bad cop? Like, they fought over who got to be bad cop, and they fought over, what other little things that they had. And it was very cool to see people that, are hard asses and don't have fun, what their idea of fun would be.
Yeah, that was the one element that I did like on the story of this episode. I did like the idea of this, what do they call it? Bingo?
Yeah.
What did they call it?
Yeah, bingo.
Yeah. I like the idea of them having this game or these series of games that they play. And I thought that's something that seemed a little bit realistic to me. And like, if you're stuck on a spaceship or, whatever long enough, you're going to figure out other ways to kill time besides just, going to the mess hall and doing your job. You're going to actually find other little creative, cool things to do, to play games and, keep yourself busy. And I thought this was one of them. And I enjoyed the transporter, tasting the gum flavor, like, that still tastes like spearmint. And them going through these kinds of experiments. They also did the turbo lift race to see where the turbo lift would take them if they both yelled really fast to a destination. I thought that was a cool concept. Because
that was fun. That's new. All of this was new, by the way. Yeah.
Those are new things. And the phaser showdown, another Wild Wild West moment. I thought that was cool too.
Lowest setting,
but it was very cool. And I actually like the delivery of the line that Laan gave. I think Laan is my favorite. The more I see her, the more I think of Eve, and the more I think.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, but I also just like her because she doesn't play games that much. She to me, like I said, she's the natural number one on that show. I would have her because she doesn't play games. She seems really serious. She seems like she gets the job done, and she seems like a badass type of no nonsense person. And I like that about her.
You know what we should do? We should have a draft. Like, take Pike out, right? and then you and I have a draft. So you pick La'an, because I'm thinking I'll take my chances with Una. I'm good with that. I feel confident with Una on my side. Who do you got next?
Yeah. I'm taking Uhura next.
Okay. I'm taking Mbenga. No, see, now I'm thinking with my heart instead of with my brain. How important is a doctor for a second pick? Let me think. Yeah, no, I'll go with Mbenga.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think I want Hemmer around. He's just too funny.
Wow, nice. Okay. That's great, because now that means I get to have Spock, who's kind of a do-it-all kind of guy. And then and then it's between Ortegas and Chapel. Who do you got?
Right now I don't know enough about Ortegas, so I'm going to have to go with Chapel.
Okay. All right. So I got Ortegas, Spock, Una, and Mbenga. And you've got Uhura, Chapel, Eve England, aka La'an. And who's your other one? Oh, Hemmer. These are fun crews. Anyway, that was just this is what I do all night, you guys. This is
yeah.
And this episode did that for us. It cuts them off into little crews, and we can watch how they interact.
Yeah, it does. I mean, we didn't get much of Uhura this episode, but she already had an episode, and she's actually had a little bit of a half of an episode too on top of it. So she's almost had 1.5 episodes. Like I said, I'm longing for more development for Ortegas. I think she needs to be more. I see her in a sidekick role too much, and I don't want her to be a sidekick. I want her to have her own identity and not just be the character for the other characters to talk to or bounce ideas off of. I need her to have her own identity, and so I know what kind of decision she would make when shit hits the fan, and I don't feel that up from her yet. The most we got was in that scene where Pike was basically telling her to shut the hell up because she was like, "Sir, we're going to approach the thing,"
She was making a lot. Was that when she was making a lot of jokes? I was like, geez, this girl drank a lot of caffeine this morning. When you have a little too much caffeine and you just can't help but you just keep going. I'm like, you gotta drink a little less coffee in the morning, because Pike is being very patient right now.
Yes. La'an, the moment when she shot Una in the showdown scene in the corridor, I love the way she delivered the line, "We haven't fun yet." It was very cold, but it was funny to me because she didn't try to make it funny. I thought it was super funny.
Right at that very moment, I put in my notes, I was very impressed with her acting skill, just with her tiny little ow. Like she made like a little sound, a little whimper, a little reaction to getting shot in the shoulder. And I was like, that was very good and funny. Like, I just forget, when you usually see an actor in like a serious role, you forget that they can do comedy as well. Or when you just see somebody in just comedic roles, you forget that they can do something serious, like say Jamie Foxx when he did Ray, And so I was very impressed. It was just a tiny little thing, but I was like, pretty good. It
works. I love the set of the meeting room where Pike was meeting with the Rongovians, and they had the ship in the background through the window. You could see like the whole docking bay and all of the. I thought that was like a great shot. Just like, who wouldn't want to be having a meeting in that room, right? That's look cool,
beautiful. Or when La'an and Una are about to go yell at the ensigns or inquire, and they yell "bad cop," because they want to. They both want to be bad cop because that's way more fun. Good time there. Good time.
A very special moment that I thought was really the highlight of this episode, because it just made me think of something that you don't think about prior to this, and that was when Una and La'an went out onto the hull or the Scourge and decided to sign it, and the whole ritual of signing it. I thought that was excellent. It reminds me of signing banners at conventions. When he signed it, he had to sign this thing. But it also reminded me of just like that's the thing you used to do when you were, you'd carve your name into a tree or you'd sign your name on something. You know what I mean? Or put your name in the concrete when it's just freshly paved and you put your initials in it or something. And it just reminded me of those kinds of special moments that people have when they want to commemorate. A day, a moment, a being somewhere.
Yeah, and it looked amazing. I was just like, damn, that looks like something really cool. If that were real, to walk on the hull of a ship and just kind of hope that the force field holds, and you're just like, well, got my gravity boots on or whatever they've got going on, and they're walking out there, and then the Rongovian ship does the flyby for them. I was like, very nice touch. Very nice touch. I do think that was a really nice moment. Really good.
Yeah. One of my favorite moments. I did also like the whole like flying the flag of the Federation when they lifted that flag up. It had a little poignant moment for me. It was a warm feeling.
Yeah. A couple other funny moments was when the delivery that T'Pring said when somebody was asking her, I think a Pike or someone was saying like, you need to do this thing. And she was obviously not T'Pring. She was Spock. And she says, someone said, oh, you're great at this. And she goes like, I'm sure that I am great at this, or I can't really deliver it the way she did, but that was excellent delivery. The spearmint gum flavor apparently comes back in transport, which I don't understand the science of that, because the molecules of that flavor of that gum. What am I thinking? I should put this on.
Ladies and gentlemen. Here it comes, nitpick of the day.
It's been a while, number 7, but I'm back, damn it. If you chew spearmint gum until all the flavor goes away, that means it's gone down and digested into your stomach. And if we're to believe that upon retransporting, that flavor has been reinfused back into the gum, then that means we also have to believe that all the other things in your stomach are reinfused into that gum as well. That's bile, that's digested food, that's burp stuff. That's not a good tasting gum. I mean, we can't just. I don't understand the science. I'm like, wait, because that flavor has left the gum, and it's not like it's just next to the gum where it just kind of picks it back up and puts it together. That flavor has been swallowed and is down in your stomach. How does the transporter know to get every tiny little flavor molecule out of your stomach, pull it out of there, and put it in the? Nope. Sorry, it was funny and I liked it. However.
I was kind of impressed by the set in this episode. That hallway scene where they had the shootout or whatever it was, the phaser draw. It showed a long angle shot of them walking down that corridor, and I was like, "How long is that corridor?" Did you think that?
Yeah. It seemed longer than the corridors we're used to seeing, but I don't really know. I know the Enterprise D is something like a third of a mile long or something crazy like that. Now it's circular, so it's not going to be a third of a mile long like that. That means it's going to be more like a mile long to do the full circumference. But anyway, yeah, it did seem really long and really beautiful. And seeing these sets just make me wish I was there, or make me wish that this ship was real so that I could go hang out there, because it looks so cool to be in.
Yeah.
I also noticed a non-appearance mention. The non-appearance mention was for Cirroc, who is Spock's dad. That was the one that I heard. So Nam for Cirroc, everybody that is keeping score at home. That means so far in 5 episodes, the Nams, the non-appearance mentions, we've had Cirroc, Archer, Dr. Martin Luther King, Stamets, Robert April has had one, Robert April, and Michael Burnham. Those are our non-appearance mentions thus far, to my knowledge.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
They're making ground on the non-appearances.
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Another one final funny moment for me that I want to make sure to point out is when T'Pring first shows up. By the way, if she were a soap, she'd be called Irish T'Pring. When she shows up and she says, "Boy, your place is looking pretty human." Now, human apparently is a derogatory remark. like this is looking very human. Because then Spock gets all defensive. He's like, "Oh, I'm currently redecorating. I'm, that's all that is." And then her line, which is brilliant, is, "Then I withdraw my criticism until your work is complete." As in, I'll check later. I'm going to check your work, and then I will re-drop that criticism on your lap, or I will keep it withdrawn.
Yeah, the Vulcan humor is great. It's very sophisticated. I'm sure it's fun to write for, and I'm sure it's also difficult in some instances. You might hit, points in which you get stuck, but for the most part, one thing that stood out to me that I wasn't really a big fan of is it felt like you mentioned the comedy aspect of it, and I think that's a part of it why I didn't like it.
I feel like two Vulcans is like Abbott and Abbott, or whoever the straight guy was out of Abbott and Costello. Yeah. It's like you're watching, it's Abbott and Abbott. Anyway.
Right. But no, I think the comedy was they went too far to try to get the comedy to me. I prefer it lightly scattered in certain moments and very subtly, but I felt like they were going to, they tried to make this a full out comedy episode. Yeah. And what I noticed about it was even the music seemed a little like little Seinfeld, I was like, what the hell is this, like Seinfeld?
Yeah, we're having some fun today, everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of the comedy, especially with the music being comedy background music. I didn't like that at all. I prefer no music or just keep it serious. And if you're going to do comedy, let the jokes still fly, but don't make it a full out Family Matters episode.
Wow. Throwing the Urkel stuff down. And Julian White, if I remember correctly, you know him.
Yeah. This was like Urkel and Urkel. Spock versus T'Pring. It's like the switching of the bodies.
Yeah.
No, I thought this episode, I wasn't a big fan of it. A little bit too slow for me.
Actually, Urkel, he used to be a singer. He went by Urkelly. But anyway, so the point is that I get what you're saying, which is that usually Star Trek doesn't have full on comedy episodes. There are funny lines and comedic aspects in it, whereas this was a comedy episode. This was them saying, we are doing a comedy episode. We're probably going to do a musical episode. Next Generation was notorious for this. They did a Robin Hood episode. They did an old Western episode, or a couple of them, things like that. They kind of change it up, but it's rare that this happens on episode 5. Usually it happens the 4th or 5th season when they're starting to run out of ideas. They're getting delirious. They're up till 2 a.m. They're like, what about just a Western?
Why don't we just,
I don't know, some holodeck thing, whatever, who cares?
Little House on the Prairie meets space. No, and I couldn't understand the whole trying to, and that was another cheap kind of thing for me, as far as just not well constructed storyline wise. And the thing that I thought was not well constructed was, it just so happens that we need Spock to meet with this person, and then T'Pring also needs to meet with this other person.
And that was the comedy aspect of it, where they're just kind of they're not going for realism as much. They're just trying to say, hey, well, what's the funniest? It was like a sitcom. Right? Yeah. The husband has to go. It's like the 50s. The husband has to cook dinner while the wife has to go to meetings, or I Love Lucy or something.
Yeah. I Love Lucy type shit. And I was like, I'm not the biggest fan.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Damn, there was one more thing I was going to say there before we go. But I don't remember what it was now because I got stuck on I Love Lucy. But oh well. So overall, that's what it was. Final thing was, one of the things that I thought the writing was really smart on was that when they said, when the two ensigns were like, oh, but Lieutenant Kyle, he's so mean, right? The reason that's funny is because we already know that Lieutenant Kyle's not mean. We're like, he seems like an old softie. And this is only episode 5. So we've only had 4 episodes and he's not a main character. Yet the writers are confident that even though we haven't seen much of this guy, we've already pieced together the opinion that he's a nice guy and he's super cute and super sweet and super chill. And that's hard to do, to make a joke where your audience needs to get it based on their own observations of previous episodes. It's really hard to do on episode 5. You could do that, like when Jadzia says, oh, Worf's an old softie. That's funny because we've seen Worf for 9 seasons already. You know what I mean? We know he's not a softie, or we think it's just funny to call him that. But this was very, it was very bold of them to go for it on episode 5, and it totally worked for me. And I was like, wow, they did that kind of joke in record time after only 4 episodes. So kudos to them there.
It was too soon for me. So we completely see this episode differently. Yeah. And I see it the opposite way. I see it's too soon to make that joke because I don't know enough about Kyle. And is he mean? Did he do something
Maybe
mean?
He is.
I don't know.
Maybe he's a monster.
And the other joke that fell flat on me as well, because they hadn't set it up enough, was the whole Enterprise bingo when they first went into the transporter room, and they were trying to talk around Una because Una clearly didn't have a clue of what they were talking about, and they were all kind of like, yeah, the bingo,
That kind of went over my head too.
Yeah, I didn't follow it. I didn't get it. I was like, what's going on here? And so the comedy didn't land with me. The moments didn't land with me,
and where fun goes to die, I'm like, I'm sorry, but that doesn't seem like a nickname to me. That's too many. That's not a good nickname. that's a description. But whatever. And I think the reason I like this episode so much more than you, it seems, is because I was watching it through Next Generation colored glasses, where it reminded me of Next Generation, similar humor, similar feel. So I was like leaning in. Oh, shoot, we got to go. But I totally forgot that we should also see the little references and Easter eggs that our buddy Don Crandall picked up on.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So let me pull that up super quick because Don Crandall is amazing. God, he gives us so much info. Oh, no. We should have started sooner. Okay, so he mentions the Bolian. Ensign Zir is a Bolian, just like Mr. Mott, who is Captain Picard's barber. No hair jokes, please. Captain Picard does have a barber that he trusts. Pike wore a green shirt, very similar to Kirk's from the original series, which he wore a few times, but his emblem was down on his waist, whereas Pike had it up high. I did notice that as well.
I noticed that too. It also had leather sleeves on the side, which I thought was an unusual kind of touch.
So something Don Crandall shows is something I was thinking of too. When you mentioned Spock versus Spock, has not happened before. However, B'Elanna Torres in Voyager, if you'll notice here, her human side faced her Klingon side, which was exactly the same as Spock because she's half and half.
So when I said that, I was thinking of the poster image that I've seen on TVs and on posters, or T-shirts and posters, of the mirror episode where they had Spock facing Spock in that design.
Oh, is that right? So maybe interesting. Also he points out, he does show. He says the aliens of the week use a solar sail for their starship. Deep Space Nine fans will remember the great episode Explorers. So that's cool. We definitely covered that one. Oh, yes. And he says the animated series fans will remember Spock's pet, a Sailot. So check it out. He shows us, because remember, he does mention the Salot. I believe somebody else mentions her Malamute, but this is a Salot, kind of like a bear creature. And that is from the animated series. So let's see here. He's got another cute picture of the Salot being snuggly. So let's just pull that up for a second because it's really cute. Look at, and that's young baby Spock right there, and that's Sarek behind him. And let's see. Today's episode is one of the only times Christmas is mentioned. Interesting. Christmas was featured in the Nexus sequence of the film Star Trek Generations. Also true. The rank of yeoman was a big part of the original series, although it mostly disappeared after that. In today's episode, we hear yeoman. True. Good catch. Which is now almost unheard of in Star Trek. Very true. There was Yeoman Rand. He mentions Freaky Friday, or body swap idea, was featured in the very last episode of the original series, called Turnabout Intruder. Dr. Janice Lester performs a mind swap on Kirk, and for most of the episodes, Kirk is played by a woman, Sandra Smith. Interesting. Turnabout Intruder is considered one of the most unintentionally funny episodes, like Spock's Brain. That's not a good title. The unintentionally funny episodes. Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, is where we learn about the Vulcan Katras. They mentioned that. Next Generation fans will also remember the episode Sarek, where a Vulcan mind meld swaps some character traits and emotions. Picard was kind of taking on Spock's dad's emotions. That was a really, really big one. Enterprise episode Fusion is about Vulcan outcasts who have embraced emotions. There was also a thing. Oh, this is interesting. There was also a thing between Nurse Chapel and Spock in the original series, even in the animated series. It was mostly one-sided, with Chapel admitting she was in love with him. So what's interesting is this takes place, whatever it is, 9 years or so before the original series, but they're already planting the seeds 9 years before, where Nurse Chapel has a thing for Spock. Where will it lead? Who knows? But that's a really cool thing, and I'm glad that they're exploring that. I think they can do anything they want with that. Honestly, it should be fun.
Yeah, that actually reminds me of one other thing I wanted to mention.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the Nurse Chapel scene with the one ensign that she was meeting for drinks.
Yeah. Dever.
Yeah, I thought
Dever.
Something like that. I didn't like the way she just rolled out on him, and just like, it was kind of like, you guys have a date, you're dressed up, she's dressed up, he's dressed up, you guys clearly want to meet up. She just wants to hook up, and he's like talking about relationship stuff, and she uses that as the exit. But I thought it was kind of, the way she exited was rude. Like,
yeah, well, it was, and I think that's what they're pointing out. What kind of character she is she's kind of flighty. You know, she's non-committal. She's kind of flighty. She just wants to hook up with this dude. And this dude's like, I was thinking about us. And she's like, whoa. Anytime somebody says, I was thinking about us, you're like, oh, there's an us now? I didn't realize that this was something, that us was a thing you could, well, boy, oh boy, it is 7:30 already. Time for my bedtime. I better go. Anyway. So I think they're showing us she is, it is.
And I thought they're setting up the Ortegas and Chapel to be some kind of couple.
It did seem like at that very end scene, they were giving us a couple little things here and there. And if you'll recall, earlier Ortegas mentioned something about, she said, what about that other gal that you were hanging out with? So letting us know that this is a door that is open for Chapel, is that she, she's down with the ladies as well. So, and it seemed like there was something there at the very end. At the end.
Yeah.
But they didn't take it to that next step. They just kind of made us go like, is there or isn't there something there?
Well, because the way they played it was like, Ortegas is that friend that always, kind of listens to your relationship stories. Yeah, but secretly wants to be in one with you. So that's basically what I got out of it from the conversation. It was like, like I'm cool with you dating people, but wouldn't you like somebody who's just like a good listener?
Yeah, she's really taking notes. She's like, oh, and what did this guy do wrong? Oh, and what did this guy do right? Interesting. Oh, so you like that, huh? She's just taking notes.
Yeah.
And then she's going to pounce.
Right. That's what I feel. So
yeah, I think so too.
I
think so too.
Yeah.
Okay. We got to run, everybody, but we want to give a very special thanks to Homer Frizzell in Walter Koenig's former apartment building in New York, Dr. Marie Segal, also in New York, Eve England out in Wales, Yvette Blackmon, Carmen, a.k.a. Skillet, Tim Baum, a.k.a. Grandpa One, TJ, Jackson-Bey out in Missouri, Bill, Victor Arucan, Titus Mohler, Darlena Marie, John Mann, Dr. Mohamed Noor, Tierney C. Dieckmann, Anna Post, Anil O. Palat, who's got a really cool podcast of his own. Check him out. Good stuff there. And Rex A. Wood, Erica Strom, Joe Balsarati, Mike Gu, Stephanie Baker, DeQ, Neil Akasaka, Justine Norton Kurtzen, and of course, the big time bug lady out in Gainesville, Florida, Dr. Susan V. Gruner. I think that's it for us. By the way, I mentioned Anil Palat's podcast. Check it out, Fox Nomad. Fox Nomad. If I say go check it out and they're like, we can't check it out, you didn't tell us what it's called. Fox Nomad on YouTube. That's about it for us. Thank you all so much for joining us. And maybe we'll catch you next time if we're lucky. Let us know what you think. Give us some likes. Share this video. Give us some comments in the comment section below. Tell us what you thought of this radical episode or less than radical episode according to Cirroc. Are you Team Cirroc or Team Ryan? And who would you draft in our little draft that we had there? Give us 5 stars and a review, good ratings, and we will catch you next time. Thank you so much for joining us. Until then, Cirroc, Lofton, and I like to say, think about Aron Eisenberg. He's the coolest guy in the world. And always remember the 7th rule.
The 7th rule.